As many Skyblock players will know, Mage is arguably the best class when playing Hypixel Skyblock. The changes to the intelligence scaling and newly added items has made it incredibly viable, so viable to the point where it can actually be considered unbalanced. But that's not what I'll be discussing in today's video, because today's focus is going to be on the Voodoo doll and why I think this weapon is completely unbalanced. But before we get started, I'd like to quickly say that if you have any further questions or comments about this video, be sure to pop into my Twitch streams. I stream every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The links are down in the description below. We tend to have a lot of open discussions over there, so I highly recommend checking it out. With that out of the way, let's get right into the video. Okay, so today I'm going to be showcasing the Voodoo doll weapon, which I have right here in my inventory, completely clean, no enchants, no reforges, no nothing, and I'm going to be demonstrating why I think this weapon is completely unbalanced and just what makes it so good, why it's so good, and also show you guys some of the capabilities that this thing has, and hopefully get you guys maybe buying it, maybe it'll get nerfed, who knows, but regardless, let's just get straight into it. Actually, before we continue, I just want to point out that I was fully God Splash throughout this whole video. I will put a picture of the potions up on screen for you all in case you were curious. These potions shouldn't have made too much of an effect on the Voodoo doll's damage though, owed to my bow and melee damage against the mobs that I tested. So the first thing I'm going to cover is just the basic stats. So as you can see, the item ability says acupuncture, shoot arrows from every direction around the targeted monster. So essentially, if I just go quickly show you what this does, you can see that if I test it on a crit score like the one over here, it just shoots all those arrows around it, and it did 15,000 voodoo damage. You can see by the red number. I'll try and get a screenshot of that right on the screen. So right there, 15,207. But the thing is that this acupuncture will slow the monsters down for 10 seconds while also dealing 5,340 damage, also over that period of time. Now this weapon does have a 5-second cooldown, as you can see down the bottom there. But essentially, if one of the arrows from this voodoo doll actually hits any mob at all, so if you get like a cluster, which is going to be a bit hard to demonstrate, but if you manage to get a cluster of mobs and you hit them with all those arrows there, you're going to be able to do a lot of damage over time, and it's really, really good, especially with the slowness. It makes it very good for slayers, which I will get to later on in the video. However, if you've never seen this weapon before, you may be thinking to yourself, well, 5,340 damage, that seems like really little. Well, if you look at the damage we just did, we did not do 5,340 damage. We did about 15,000 damage, and this is with no mage setup. This is with nothing crazy. If I just go to my talismans to show you, I have forceful on every single one, which means I just get only strength. I don't get any intelligence scaling or anything like that. The pet that I'm currently using is a parrot pet, just because I wanted the 19 level 2 intimidation accessories perk just to make it easy for this video. And I'm not using any mage armor. I only have 437 mana, which is what I get with the parrot pet. But you can see that with the scaling, it actually does a pretty decent amount of damage. And if you just multiply that by 10, as it does it over a period of 10 seconds, you can end up doing about 53,000 damage per 10 seconds of the ability. And the thing is that this weapon stacks. Like, you can spam this thing and have a whole bunch of voodoos going off, and it just keeps on chipping and chipping and chipping and chipping and chipping, and it's really, really good. And that's what I want to get into today's video, because I just feel like this weapon is so powerful right now. You do not have to be a mage to use this. Like, I'm an archer. I have a whole bunch of archer weapons. If I just look at my backpack, you can see I've got a hurricane bow here. I have this e-bow that I've got chilling. I've also got a spirit bow. So I main with archer, but I still use this weapon in day-to-day Skyblock because of how strong it is. And I'm going to show you guys a little bit of footage later on in the video about that. But now that we've got all the basic stats out of the way, how about we just cover the damage it can deal to Slayer bosses, and I'll show you guys how that turns out. Alright, so I've spawned my boss here. I'm just going to take it down to the bottom of the map just to get a little bit of a closer look on being able to take this thing out with the Voodoo doll, or at least to show you guys some of the damage out of the nest away from everyone. I'll also grab my mana flux while I'm at it just to get a little bit of health. So if I just wait for some mana to get my Voodoo doll going, I'm just going to hit this thing a few times so it just gets a little bit weaker, so we can just dwindle its health a little bit. But if I just use my Voodoo doll right there, you can see they're going to be able to hit it, and it's just going to do a little bit of damage over time, doing 50k per hit, roughly, give or take. And doing 50k over a period of 10 seconds is really good. Now, I know I took that boss out really quickly. I will do a second one without my pet, just to try and see if I can get you guys some more footage on that. But you could sort of see, you got a rough idea of how much damage you were actually able to do to that tarantula boss with just the Voodoo doll alone. It's really, really powerful, and it just has so much capabilities, especially on Sven bosses. But I will get to that in just a little bit. Alrighty, so once again, sporting my Tarantula boss, I'm just going to take this down to the bottom of the map, and this time without my Wither Skeleton pet, so hopefully we don't take it out too quickly and are able to get you guys some extra footage on how this thing works. So, jumping down here, I'm going to use my Voodoo doll just to attack it there, and as you can see, it's doing 39,000 damage over time here. I'm doing nothing at all, and it's already damaging it. Of course, it's not hitting me, so it's going to start regenning, but if we just pair the Voodoo doll with my main attacks here, I'm not using a pet here, it's doing a lot of really solid damage just over time, as you can see. Being able to just chip at its health 684k, 637k, 589k, and keep in mind that I do not have a mage setup. I don't have any Bizarre Talismans, I don't have a mage setup, I don't even have anything really for it. I'm using all forceful here as if I was playing a berserker or an archer, and I could still do that much damage. Like, the 50k damage a hit over that 10-second period is absolutely nuts. If I didn't even hit it with my Scorp foil at all, I probably would have been able to just dwindle it down so much to the point where I could just hit it with a few more hits with just like an AOTD or something. But the point is, this weapon is so good. Like, it doesn't actually work on Revenants, which is why I'm not trying it on Revenants, but I just want to show you guys how strong it is on the wolf bosses. So how do we go over to the Howling Cave, and I'll show you guys how strong it is against Svens. Alrighty, so the last mini boss here until our boss will spawn, so we just take out the Sven Alpha really quickly. I also charged up a bunch of mana just before the fight here, so I'm going to be able to use the Voodoo a lot more, as you can see. But being able to hit the Voodoo off there first, if I just strafe this thing, you can see that it's just dealing some pretty consistent damage, 15k per shot. Considering the fact that Sven does have a damage reduction to the Voodoo, I'm pretty sure of some sort. I'm just going to keep on just attacking it there, just getting all these Voodoo shots off, and it's just going to do a lot of damage over time. It's going to just keep it slowed as well. It's going to make it much easier for me to come along in Massive and Pooch. I'm going to be able to hit it one more time. It's going to hit the pups, actually. If it hits the pups, it's not that big of a deal because it helps you out a lot trying to take them out. But if you manage to hit the main boss, it does really, really well. Just being able to just get all these Voodoo shots off, which is going to do it once again there. Even more damage. It's going to keep on chipping it down, slowing it down as well. And as you can see, pretty much all the pups have died already. I haven't had to deal with them at all. If you don't fight the Sven Packmaster in the water like I do, then it makes it really, really easy to use the Voodoo to either kill the pups or to just kill the boss itself. Really, really nicely done, as you can see. But it's just such a great weapon. Like, there's no reason not to get this thing. It's super, super cheap as well, being only like 800 to 900k on the auction house, and the amount of damage that it does is just unbelievable, honestly. I feel like it's just such great value for money. You can do so much with it, and you could just see right there against the Tarantulas and on the Svens, we were able to do crazy amounts of damage to the bosses, especially Tarantula. Tarantula did 50,000 damage. Like, that's insane for a mage weapon, considering the fact that I don't even have a mage build. But now that I've showcased how this thing works on Slayers minus Revenants, I do have some Golem clips to show you guys now, and my thoughts on how it works on a Golem boss, which is the Endstone Protectors. So I'm going to roll the clips now, and I'll let you all decide on what you think. Alrighty, so for this first Endstone Protector here, I was using only my Superior Armor and Wither Skeleton Pet, alongside my AOTD, and no Voodoo Doll for the first fight. So spawning in here, we're able to go straight for it, just swinging at our sword as much as possible, being able to do as much damage as possible as well. So like I said, this time around, not using the Voodoo Doll, there's really not much to say here, just dashing onto it when it throws us in the air, and trying to dash onto it as it was targeting us for a little bit of this fight as well. We did get pretty lucky here. I'm quite happy that I was able to get this footage of a Golem without anyone using Rend or anybody using some really OP weapons, but we were able to do a lot of damage. We're at 1.1 mil so far, and it only has 1 million health left. Throwing us in the air one more time, a lot of people did end up dying, so we managed to sneak in a few more hits here. As you can see, being able to take first place on this Protector, 1.5 mil damage in total without the use of the Voodoo Doll. So overall, it doesn't seem like it's too bad to not use one, but how about we roll the clips where we use the Voodoo Doll, and we'll see how that one goes for us. Alright, so spawning in our pet and also our armor a little bit too late here, but I was able to go straight for the Golem and shoot my Voodoo Doll first things first, try to get that extra chip damage off of him as well. Now we're going to be able to do some pretty consistent damage here with our Wither Skeleton Pet as well. Getting flung in the air, that's no big deal. We're just going to go back towards the Protector and just melee it as much as possible. Now one thing that I did notice here is that between these two fights, it looks like we're doing very similar damage between using Voodoo and no Voodoo, and I can't really tell whether or not the Voodoo is actually hitting the Protector because of the amount of people, nor can I tell if it's even taking damage at all from it, if it's actually doing anything at all. So as you can see here, we're able to just finish it off there and get second place this time with also 1.5 million damage. Now the difference between using a Voodoo Doll and no Voodoo Doll was basically negligible. Like, I can't even tell if it did any damage whatsoever, and I feel like it may or may not be bugged. Maybe it's not meant to do damage to Endstone Golems, but regardless, whatever the case may be, you're probably better off not using a Voodoo Doll for an Endstone Protector fight. I did actually try this with some other fights that I'm not going to show in this video, and I got pretty similar results. So I'm not sure how it works for these Golems, but at least for Slayers and other things, it definitely works out really well. Alrighty, so that about wraps up everything for today's video, so hopefully you guys did enjoy or find this informative in some way. Once again, just to quickly recap, this weapon is just unreal. Like, I just pretty much proved the point that no matter what class you play, whatever you choose to do, and how you want to play it, if you get your hands on a Voodoo doll, it's definitely going to come out very, very nicely for you in the long run, because it just works on so many different mobs. It just works super well. It's really nice passive damage, and it doesn't use too much mana. If you do choose to reforge it and enchant it or do whatever you want with it, then you can probably get it down even lower if you do choose to do that as well. But point is, this thing is just unreal. The amount of damage you can do with it is crazy, as you guys saw in the previous clips, and that's basically what I wanted to say in this video. But with that being said, if you did enjoy this video, please do leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel, because I make these Hypixel Skyblock videos every Wednesdays and Fridays. And also, if you have any further questions or comments about this video, be sure to pop into my Twitch streams. I stream every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The links are down in the description below. But with that being said, guys, hopefully you all did enjoy this video, and as always, take care and peace. Make the jump. Come on. Don't be shy. Don't be shy.